This is the prerequisite review for section 2.4 covering linear equations in two variables and linear functions. This worksheet is going to cover finding x and y intercepts of a graph. So we'll be taking a look at the graphs of some functions. We'll be solving literal equations for an indicated variable. We will solve linear inequalities and also evaluate functions for the first time. So let's begin with objective 1, finding the x and y intercepts of a graph. So here we have been given a function that is linear. So you could notice this is a linear function, and we know that because x is to the first power. And in number 2, you can also see that we also have a linear function. Okay, so if right below this I wrote mx plus b under each one of these, I could go ahead and write f of x equals. You can clearly see that m is equal to 2 for this first line, and the y-intercept is 6. So y-intercept is 6. And the slope is 2. So a slope of 2 equals 2 over 1. So we will go up 2 over 1, or we can go down 2 to the left 1, either way. And we have this beautiful graph. Now, looking here where we can hit the x-axis, of course, we do already have our y-intercept. So we do know that our y-intercept is 6, and you might also say 0, 6. And that x-intercept, I guess we could go ahead and just try to continue this graph. And it would look something like, let's see, down 2 over 1, something similar to this. But of course, we can't really get that exact when we're sketching. I mean, I guess we can, but move it up a little bit. So it's possibly or more than likely going to be -3. But remember, when we find an x-intercept, we will let y be 0. And so we have 0 equals 2x plus 6. And then we will subtract 6 from both sides and divide both sides by 2. So you can see here that our x-intercept is -3, or you might see it written as an ordered pair, -3, 0. Let's do the same for number 2. As you can see, our slope is going to be -4, and our y-intercept is 3. So we are ready to go with giving our y-intercept as a 3, or again, 0, 3 is that point. And we could go ahead and plot that right here. And then we notice that the slope is -4. And that's a -4 over 1 or a 4 over -1. So you can walk your walk these points or count points either way. So let's go ahead and go down 4 and to the right 1, and down 4 to the right 1. And as you can see, this is a pretty steep slope, -4. Let's see how I can pull that over. Something like that, okay? So now what we can see is when we went down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe I didn't go all the way down there. Try that point again. So we'll go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and across 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't think I had gone quite in the right way with that. And you can see, looks something like that. Now, we do have to be careful because as you can see that x-intercept right here, we are going to go ahead and solve for that. We shouldn't just assume where we have sketched will be that. So that is let y equals 0. 0 equals negative 4x plus 3. 4x equals 3. And x equals 3/4. So as you can see, we now have 3/4 as our x-intercept, or the point 3/4, 0. So those are our intercepts. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at these literal equations. And actually, we are going to solve all of these equations for y. So if you like, we go ahead and add z to both sides. And then, of course, we have y equals x plus z. And we can turn that around so that y is on the left side. Okay, looking at number 4, we're solving for y. We'll first go ahead and subtract that 8x and have 2y equals negative 8x plus 10. And then we'll divide every term by 2. And we will have y equals negative 4. Let me get that purple pen. Y equals negative 4x plus 5. Looking at number 5, let's go ahead and add 3x. And we have 5y equals 3x plus 15. We will divide every term by 5. And we have y equals 3/5 x plus 3. And finally, we'll go ahead and subtract 6x from both sides. And then we'll divide every term by a negative 3. And there we have it. So we solved number 3 through 6 for y. Let's go ahead and take a look at some inequalities. Keep in mind, if we ever multiply or divide by a negative number, we must reverse the inequality. Okay, so we'll solve these just like we did for equations. Here we're solving for x. Let's go ahead and subtract 9. That, of course, does not leave us with any reversing needed. We'll divide both sides. Since that is a positive 7, we will go ahead and keep our inequality the way it is. And then let's just read backwards. X is less than 3/7. And on a number line, if you have 3/7 and we want everything less than 3/7, we have negative infinity to 3/7 with a parenthesis. And that is our solution, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at number 8. Here we will have subtract 7t from both sides, and we have a negative 4t is greater than or equal to negative 35. Now notice we're going to divide both sides by a negative 4. So we are going to have to reverse that inequality. And here, if you have a number line and we have 35/4, we do want to include that number in our set, and we have negative infinity to 35/4 with a bracket. Looking at number 9, here we will go ahead and add 1 to both sides. And we have 2w is less than or equal to 5w plus 9. We will subtract 5w. And we have a negative 3w is less than or equal to 9. Now we are dividing by a negative 3. So we will have to now have w is greater than or equal to a negative 3. On a number line, we have negative 3. We want that negative 3 in our set. So we will have negative 3 to infinity as our solution. Looking at number 10, let's subtract 7 from both sides. And we have 5y is greater than 3y plus 8. We'll go ahead and subtract 3y from both sides. And we have 2y is greater than 8. Dividing both sides by 2, we have y is greater than 4. On the number line, we want every real number greater than 4, but we do not want 4 in our solution set. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 11 through 14. This is really important. We want to say g of x over and over. So here we have g of x, g of x, g of x, g of x. And you can see that x is different for every one of these. So g of -1 means x is equal to -1. So we have a -1 squared plus 4 times -1 plus 7. So I'm going to have to figure out how to draw this a little bit smaller, and maybe I will zoom in because I don't have that much room for each one of these problems. Okay, so let's go ahead and evaluate that. That would be a -1 minus 4 plus 7, and that is equal to 2. G of 2 is a -2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 7. It's a -4 plus 8 plus 7, and that would be 11. And again, everywhere we are plugging in our x value there. So g of x. So here we will be plugging in a 0 everywhere there is an x. And you can see that's just equal to 7. And g of -3, we have the opposite of -3 squared plus 4 times -3. See if I can make that smaller and move that over. And then we have a plus 7. So that is a -9 minus 12 plus 7. And that is equal to a -14. So that concludes this worksheet.